guys, and welcome back to a new video. So I know a lot of you at the moment are either going through the process of applying to law school, looking at options, you know, having interviews for law schools, or just thinking about applying for the next academic year. And I know that because not only have I done it, but also all of my law videos on my channel are just like going up with the views right now. So I wanted to try and hopefully ease some of that decision making and make another video on the law topic, because obviously, if you didn't know, I graduated from law school in 2020 last year from the University of York, and now I'm doing a master's in medical ethics and law at King's College London. So I have a bit of experience on the topic that hopefully me sharing it will enable you to have just a bit more insights into law school generally. So today I want to talk about the best and the worst things about law school. I'm going to start with the worst first, and then we can end on a high and do the best. The worst things about law school, in my opinion, I'm going to caveat it, and that's how you know I've been to law school. Everything's caveated. So the worst. Firstly, workload. I would say it's expected that it's going to be heavy, but you don't expect how heavy it is until you do it. You know, it comes in waves as well. There will be weeks or terms where it'll be quite chilled. Maybe not at undergrad, but at masters I found that, and in my third year of undergrad I found that. And then there are months and terms where it's just like coming at you like there's no tomorrow. So you kind of need to prepare for that, and it can sometimes just feel very overwhelming, very intense. Like when you look at what you have to do for that week and you're like, oh god, I've got like 80, 100 pages to read every single day, and my friends want to do this and this, and I can't because you've got to prioritise your degree. So it's those moments that I think as a whole, because there's quite a few of them, like one of the worst things about law school, because sometimes it just feels like it's a never-ending slog and you just don't have a break. Also, a lot of the workload is centered around self-study, so you need to kind of be very self-motivated and want to do the work in your own time, and if you don't, then it's quite easy to get behind because you kind of get left by the lecturers, which does lead me on to my next point, because I think one of also the worst things about law school is the staff, the lecturers. Like, they can be amazing, don't get me wrong, and I have had some really good experiences with the lecturers in my masters and also in my undergrad, but those good experiences are because I went out of my way to really build a rapport with certain lecturers. And I think on the whole, like of all the staff members that I have come into contact with at law school, 90% of them are quite cold, unfeeling, don't allow you to really build a connection with them on any level, don't really see you as a human. It's kind of one rule for them, one rule for the students. I think a lot of them, in a way, well, it definitely feels like a lot of them forgot what it was like to be a law student, or they thought, well, I struggled when I was at law school, so I want you to struggle too. Or they were like, I found law school really easy because I'm like really smart and I went to this uni or that uni, and so you'll be fine. Like, that's the impression that a lot of them give, and that's shown a lot of the time by the way that they treat you. I've had loads of experiences with lecturers where they kind of look down their nose at you, and when you go to them wanting advice on, okay, I'm not getting this grade, or I want help on XYZ, they look at you like you're stupid. And I know to them that they're a professor, so the question that you're asking in your first or second year might be a silly question, but a lot of these lecturers can lack the personal skills of dealing with students, and I think that can really intensify and add stress to the whole process of being at law school, because it would make it a lot easier if there was a support system there from the staff, and sadly that doesn't always happen. Going also off that is students are one of the worst things about law school. Students is very much a double-edged sword, okay? On the one hand, they're awful because they're so competitive, and it's very much can be stab you in the back. I think in the first year that's not really felt, but in the second and third year, especially if you're one of the people that want to go for a vacation scheme at a top law firm, or just generally any vacation scheme, because there will be moments around application cycles where you'll be sitting around with people that you know, and you'll all be going for the same position, and obviously then you're directly competing against each other, so it can kind of be a bit fiery. And also there's just this whole culture around grades and students and everyone being against each other from day one. I mean, that kind of makes it very toxic. For example, on my very first day of law school, they made us play a game that was us as a law firm against another law firm, and like from day one, I know it's in a fun way, but they are putting you against people, and we had some rivalry with that law firm for 3 years just based on that one game that we played at the very start of our degree. So it kind of carries. Now, whilst the most of the time students can be quite nice and fun, and you can very well get along with them with that camaraderie because you all know what you're going through. Deep down there is a very strong foundation of we are competitive, we're going against each other, and I think that's a shame because it can add a lot of stress. Like with grades and stuff, people be like, what did you get? Oh, I did better. Like people's insecurities turn them into ugly things, and I think that very much comes through in a stressful environment like law school. Also, going off the competitive note, another thing that is like the worst thing about law is just the oversaturated job market. Generally getting jobs in the legal field is just so difficult because there's so many law students going for so little jobs. When you're going for vocation schemes and you're going for training contract offers, especially at these top elite firms, which a lot of people try and aspire to, you're going against hundreds of other people, and especially when they're people that you know or people that are at different universities or whatever it may be, it can add a lot of stress, I think, to your degree, because in law you need to sort of look for job offers in your second and third year. Whilst you're studying, you're also stressing about employment, and if you get rejected or whatever may happen, you can't find a job, I think then it can mess with your head when you're studying because it makes you kind of doubt yourself. I think it can have that effect at least. So the competitive field really doesn't help any student. And finally, my last remark on the worst thing about law school, and I think it just summarises the things that I've mentioned, is just generally the intensity and the stress levels that come with it. And I do think that is what you make of it. If you don't buy into any of it and you don't necessarily hang out with law students and you just sort of do your work, very controlled, cool, calm, collected manner, you won't feel the intensity, you won't feel the stress. There'll be a lot of work, but if you have good time management skills, you'll be able to handle it. But I think that's a lot easier said than done to be able to do, because when you're in that environment, it's very easy to just fall into the traps of it. So it can feel very intense, very stressful, like you don't have a break, you can get burnt out, everybody around you is doing the same, everybody around you is stressy all the time, and it can very easily downward spiral you. And I think when you're in that sort of vulnerable place, especially at university, you know, we're away from your family and your social, you know, bubble and connections, it can be quite damaging. Okay, now going on to the best things about law school. Like, there are so many good benefits. I could rave about going to law school, even though I don't want to be a lawyer and even though I don't want to go into the legal field at all. I love that I did a law degree, and I would recommend so many people to do it. If you have an interest in law, go for it, honestly. So my number one top best thing about law school, well, actually these aren't in any particular order, I'm reading them and I'm like, that's quite a dry first thing to mention, is the skills development that you can gain from law school. I have grown so much as a person from just doing a 3-year undergraduate degree, and whilst that can be said of most people who go to university, that you develop in some way, I do think that doing a law degree really guarantees that fact. Like, I'm so much more confident, my communication skills are better, it's given me so much more professionalism in the working environment, a greater understanding generally of business, what it means to be disciplined and hardworking and put in the hours, and also you learn fun skills like how to moot and draft legal documents and talk to clients, and it all pushes you outside your comfort zone from day one. And whilst it seems daunting, because it definitely did to me, thinking about doing mock trials and stuff when I was 18, 17 applying to law school, it's actually really fun. You end up figuring it all out along the way, and you look back at the end of your degree and think, wow, like, who knew I would be here when I started? And you grow so much, and I think that's a really lovely thing about doing a degree. Like, it's so rewarding even though it's a lot of work. And going off that is the knowledge. Like, you do learn so much about yourself because it's a stressful environment. I think it tests yourself and you learn what you can and can't do and how you cope with certain things, but also just generally about the law. And the law is a great subject that is applicable to literally everything that happens in daily life. The one thing I do love about the law is you can delve into it from an academic standpoint and really go into the nitty-gritties and make it so abstract that it's purely just an academic thought experiment. But at the same time, you can literally look at how it applies to literally everything that we do in life, and I think that's so interesting. So, for example, doing my law degree, okay, I took intellectual property law, which then now helps me when I'm writing music and putting YouTube videos out, and how the law governs that, or contract law now when I work with businesses and brands and writing my own contracts or reviewing contracts that they send me. There's a lot of things that I've learned on my degree that have then helped me with the career that I've chosen, even though it's not applicable. Another thing, going off a point that I made earlier about the people that attend law school, is they can actually be best thing about law school. If you find a really good group of people who don't make you feel like you're in a constant competition, then they can be a really good support group because you're all going through the same thing. You can all have great banter. That's one of the things law students do have, is it's so stressful and things you're looking at are quite deep and dark that everyone just develops this just weird sense of humour, so you can all just sort of laugh at it together and help each other. And that's one thing I really enjoyed about my experience at law school, that once I found good people that I could then rely on them, they could do the same with me, and they made a lot of these long night essay writing library sessions actually fun. Also going off that is law students know how to work hard and party hard, and I think that's just a really fun thing to develop in life. You learn the knack at law school because everybody's doing it, to just put in a 60-hour, 70-hour week and do long ass days in the library and then go out like 3 times a week and stay out way too late. Like, there are many times where I would be getting up at say 7 a.m, working all day, working literally until like 7, 8 o'clock at night, doing prees, going on a night out, getting back in at 3, 4 in the morning, having 3 hours sleep and do the same thing again. Like, it's laughable now because there's no way I could possibly function on that little sleep, but you just somehow do it at law school and you do develop that work hard, play hard mentality, and it can be pretty fun, the amount of things you manage to pack into your time at law school. And that's definitely one of the skills that I think I've brought forward from doing a law degree, just managing time really well and being super busy but not feeling like it's busy because you've been busier. Going off that quite nicely is law school teaches discipline and hard work and the value of them, because it doesn't matter how hardworking or whatever you are before that, it very much teaches you to be okay with doing an 80-hour week, or teaches you whether you don't want to do the 80-hour week. Because I'm one for working hard, but I very much learned quite quickly with law school that I didn't want to become a solicitor or a barrister because the working hours weren't for me. Whereas a lot of people go into law school and love that you're working that much because it's that work hard, party hard, mentality, and they're okay with sitting in an office for that long amount of time. You sort of get used to it and they enjoy it because they enjoy what they're studying and what they're doing, and then it means that transition from studying into being in a job is quite easy. And I think law school does prepare you quite well for the transition if you want to go into the legal industry, because they're both intense. And next on my list is the fact that if you do want to go into the legal industry and you do want to go in a high paying position, there's moolah in it. Like, it's a good paying job. There are some Magic Circle training contracts that, okay, they're 40,000 whilst you're doing a training contract, but upon finishing it, it's 100, 120 if you go for an American firm. Like, you could basically be 23, 24 years old and on over £100,000 a year. Mental. Plus perks that you get, plus free gyms and all of that you get working at these places. Granted, they're hard to get into, but even if you work in a normal high street firm or you're a barrister in a certain field, it's above average money. So that's a good incentive, and it's definitely a benefit of going to law school. And also, whilst they are competitive, these jobs, I think you can really thrive or learn to thrive in the competitive environment. There are certainly people I went to law school with that definitely really loved the competitiveness about it, because one, it's a big confidence boost being in that environment. If you do get a good job, or you get an interview or a vacation scheme or work experience at these top firms, because you think, wow, validation, like, I'm doing well for myself in my industry, which is great. Knowing and understanding that the industry you're going into is really competitive can really push and motivate you to bring yourself up to that standard. And finally, the last thing I absolutely love about law school, and probably one of the best things about law school, is that no matter what happens with your degree, no matter whether you're like me and hated doing it because it was stressful and it was long nights and I didn't even want to be a lawyer, or whether you go into law or whether something else comes along or whatever, providing you finish your law degree and you go through the whole 3-year or whatever experience of doing a law degree, you will have such an applicable, respected and transferable degree to literally any field within the job market. And I think that's really amazing because not many degrees are like that. Whereas with law, you tell anybody that you went to law school and they're like, oh, good for you. A lot of employers really do respect and understand that it teaches a lot of applicable skills regardless of the job, and that it makes you a very respectable, good candidate. And I think that really is translated in that 50% of people who graduate with a law degree don't even go into law. Like me, I don't want to go into law, yet I can still get a lot of jobs. For example, when I was studying for my degree in 3 years, I got over 30 different bits of work experience in loads of different sectors. I'm talking, yes, I did law, but I also did HR, and I did media, I did marketing, I did civil service, I did police, I did stuff at the hospital and social care. God, I did stuff in film and music, like literally complete opposite ends of the spectrum. Oh, banking, finance, teaching, literally so many fields. And I was successful in that because I think I learned a lot and really took a lot out of my law degree. And at the same time, caveating this video, is you can gain a lot from a law degree. And this is going to be my final parting bit of advice. You can gain a lot from a law degree. You can gain a lot from any degree, but specifically you can gain a lot from a law degree. But you have to really embrace it. Like, there are a lot of people that went to law school with me that, yes, they've now got a respectable degree, but I don't think they really took advantage of a lot of the opportunities they could have at law school, and now they're in a less favourable position than they could have been. So I think, if providing you go to law school and you really embrace it, and you kind of embrace the suck, as Americans would say, for 3 years, and you just kind of like get your head down and get on with it, and kind of see the bright side of the situation, that like, it's going to be hard, long days, going to be a lot of work, but you can have fun with your mates and have this one experience 3 years of your life, and you use all the opportunities and you really use it as a chance to develop yourself and grow yourself, then you will come out of a law degree like a whole new person, and you'll have so many more opportunities and things in life coming to you and available to you than you would have if you didn't go to law school. I think that is just a really beautiful thing about a law degree. It's a beautiful thing. So I'm going to end this video now. If you have any questions about what it's like to be at law school, then you can check some videos out on my channel, because I basically vlogged and documented the whole process and gave my advice throughout the 3 years that I was at law school. But if you have anything that I haven't covered, then please put it in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer it. Hope you like this video. I'll see you in the next one. I'll see you next time. Bye.